Stop me if you've heard this before. The New England Patriots signed a diva wide receiver who is making headlines, and it could go one way or the other. And we're not sure. Like, we saw Antonio Brown fall off completely. Randy Moss thrived as a New England Patriot. And Stefon Diggs is finding himself in headlines coming off an ACL injury where he was kind of at workouts, was showing the tape of coming back, doing his private things, rehabbing, and showed up to OTAs after all of these questions came into Mike Vrabel, and was finally said by Ian Rappaport that the Patriots do not intend to cut the wide receiver. However, we are still, as fans, concerned about the things that Stefon Diggs is doing coming off an injury, or are we? And the questions all abound, right? So Matt, our co-star here, one of my favorite guys to talk Patriots stuff about, because he always tells me when I'm being off in the distance and glum and gloom and all this stuff, has preached about how Mike Vrabel has changed the culture. And so the question I ask you, Matt, is when you see a wide receiver who is supposed to be your number one, he's supposed to be mentoring your young guys, he is the face of your wide receiver room, sort of have these, as Sammy has described it, antics off the field where you're kind of concerned about him, as a player, off the field situations, he's putting himself in situations like that. Do you feel like that maybe hurts the culture you're trying to build in year one under a new head coach, new offensive system with a young quarterback?
No, I don't feel like it does whatsoever. I don't feel like it hurts it whatsoever because, again, how many teams have we seen in the history of the NFL? We saw one last year with the Philadelphia Eagles. Literally during the season, we were talking about Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown having beef. And you want to know who Mike Vrabel, who's already coached wide receiver one, was in Tennessee? AJ Brown. So again, Mike Vrabel knows how to deal with these type of situations, and we've seen Stefon Diggs thrive in these type of situations, even when he's been doing devious behavior like he's been doing for basically his entire career. And again, is he the best off-field role model for some of these young receivers? No. I guarantee you, if I was a young receiver in the NFL and Stefon Diggs asked, "Hey, do you want to go party with me and Cardi B and a bunch of other, attractive females on a boat?" I would probably have a hard time declining it. I won't go as far as to say that, Joe, but I would have a hard time declining it. But listen, in terms of his on-field leadership and his on-field production, that's what's going to benefit this team the most this year. Again, I have no concerns about what Stefon Diggs is going to bring on the field. Despite the ACL injury, I really don't have any concerns with that because, again, we've seen tons of players come back from an ACL injury and produce. So to answer your question, Joe, no, I have no concerns about how this plays in terms of culture and in terms of how Mike Vrabel is going to be able to deal with it because he's a strong enough personality where he's going to be able to deal with just about anybody.
Yeah, and I think that was the main concern when a lot of people were seeing these things happen was the impact on the culture that was trying to be built in New England. And to your point, that was sort of the focus of the draft was we got culture team first guys in the draft, right? And you wanted to build that structure, and I think those were the main concerns that a lot of people had when they were questioning if Stefon Diggs should be cut. Right, when that was the idea was the culture impacted by his decision making, right? And to your point, Stefon Diggs has had a rather noteworthy off-field life, right? Like we've seen him, he's not hidden anything ever. He is who he is. And I think that's, better than sort of like, the Antonio Brown situation, which is everyone's first stop on the wide receiver holy shit market, when things are going off the field is, here's another Antonio Brown situation possibly. But to your point, like Stefon Diggs, did he make a bad decision? I mean, I could say, yeah, you don't really want to be handing out unmarked bags with unknown substances of certain colors that may or may not be described as one thing or another to a bunch of, people in bathing suits on a boat that you're wearing like a
quite the switch up there, Joe. Wow. Okay. Quite the switch.
Both thoughts with boat thoughts. All right. Both thoughts with boat thoughts. All right.
Jeez.
But I mean, Sammy, you've seen Stefon Diggs, and the kind of player he's played in the AFC East. He's gone up against your Dolphins. You've had chances to watch him. The guy's a professional on the field. No one works harder than him. Josh McDaniels has said that. So, do you feel like ACL injury aside, culture issues aside, do you think this affects Stefon Diggs in any capacity whatsoever? Because I think that Matt and I are both on the same idea here where there were concerns initially, but at the same time, the guy's all business the minute the pads come on.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that, like, your on-field production has nothing to do with your off-field personality. I think that, I would prefer that you were a family man and don't, aren't, on a boat with a bunch of other women giving out unmarked substances. I would prefer you weren't like that. However, if you're going 7 straight years with 1,000-yard seasons before last year's injury, I would say you kind of get a pass. So I'm okay with Stefon Diggs doing whatever he wants as long as he's performing on the field. With that being said, there are what I would love for Stefon Diggs to do is to be a mentor to his wide receiver room, a relatively young wide receiver room. Who is in this wide receiver room, you ask? Well, Demario Douglas, Kyle Williams, Keyshawn Boutte, Kendrick Bourne, Jalen Polk, Javon Baker. You have some vets in there like Mac Hollins and Kendrick Bourne, but like overall, it's a very young wide receiver room. So he's supposed to be the mentor for those guys. Now, I would hope that those young guys are paying attention to what he's doing on the field rather than off. Now, if they are like, if they're modeling their careers after Stefon Diggs on the field, they're on the right track. Off the field, might be time to get an accountant. But my point is that I don't think it matters. And if Josh McDaniel isn't concerned, I'm not going to be concerned either. If Josh McDaniels is saying, "Oh well, it's voluntary workout, so he doesn't have to come," but when he does come, he's very attentive. He's paying attention. He works hard. And Stefon Diggs, the same way he has never hidden how he is with women, he's also never hidden how hard he works. So I think that overall, I think we should give Stefon Diggs the benefit of the doubt. I feel like the fact that we're talking about it now is only concerning because he's coming off an injury. I think in the past, it's like, oh, well, yeah, he did that and, whatever, he's just going to drop another 1,000 yards. Now that he's coming off an injury, the questions are going to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Matt, you seem like you have something you want to say, buddy.
Well, too, just to build on that point, I mean, we've known this about Stefon Diggs since he was in Minnesota. Like, if you guys remember that video that came out and it was like, which teammate would you least like to date your sister?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone said Stefon Diggs, like unanimously. So his teammates have known he's wild since back in his, his first few years when he was in Minnesota, So again, when you sign Stefon Diggs, the drama that's going to come with him, again, with wide receiver ones just in general, you're probably getting some baggage there. But again, if you're getting Stefon Diggs, you also know you're getting someone who can help develop a young quarterback, which he helped do with Josh Allen. You saw, in the limited action he had last year with CJ Stroud as well. So again, it kind of comes back to my main theme as far as the Patriots season this year. Again, I don't think any Patriots fan expects us to win a Super Bowl. The goal should be progress, right? Again, the goal should be developing the young players. Stefon Diggs' intelligence, Stefon Diggs' IQ is going to help Drake May in the passing game. And we've already seen clips of him mentoring Jalen Polk and the other wide receivers at OTAs for the New England Patriots. So I think overall it's going to be a really positive experience for Stefon Diggs in New England. It's just you're going to have to, deal with a video here and there of him being on a boat or maybe him being in the club or whatever the case may be, because that's just who he is.
I do think throughout the summer, like, that's okay. It's fine throughout the summer. Now, if we see these things like during the season, I think that's where the questions really have to start like being like asked more. Now, I don't think he's ever had like any kind of problems throughout the season, so I don't think this is going to be an issue. However, if he is, dating Cardi B, so you really never know. I would hope not. I would hope he doesn't get into this kind of stuff throughout the season. That's really all I'm concerned about. But
you lose week 2 in Miami, and you see a video come out.
And,
Diggs is in the club, and
no James Harden shit here. No James Harden shit.
Right. So that's obviously something that you got to be concerned about. But like both these guys mentioned, and myself as well, again, the on-field performance is the number one important thing. And, you're going to have to deal with a little bit of stuff off the field. But if you can deal with it, again, you're going to get a damn good football player in Stefon Diggs.
Absolutely. And, I think that's why a lot of people have just kind of brushed this off. I mean, like I said, everyone's known who he is. He hasn't hidden himself at all. And, and to Sammy's point, if he's not coming off an injury, are we concerned that a veteran's skipping OTAs? Considering the fact that veterans pretty much almost never fully attend OTAs. Now, granted, new team, new system, new coach. You would like him to be there more often than not. But to your point, Josh McDaniels isn't concerned. Josh McDaniels has coached Antonio Brown. Josh McDaniels coached Randy Moss. He knows how to handle these diva wide receivers and make them successful on the field. And he came out and said it himself. He knows what he's doing. He's got the system. He's working hard. We see the videos. I have no doubt he's doing the things he needs to do to come back from an ACL injury to be successful on the field. And Stefon Diggs came out and said it himself. The only thing I care about is winning, right? Now, granted, being on a boat during OTAs and a new system, new coach and not at OTAs is concerning. However, he showed up. He was limited. He didn't do anything besides some basic, going through the motions, 80% effort kind of stuff. Is that really going to do anything for you? Do I think that builds? I mean, sure, it gets him on the field, but at the same time, I think this is off-season media doing off-season media things, trying to make a headline where there's really nothing. I do think it's concerning because you like to see him on the field, but at the end of the day, the concern meter is like down here. It's not like flipping, it's nowhere near max.
These are grown men. This is a grown man. Like
he's a fucking
at the
adult.
end of the day, I think Twitter, like, and Twitter especially, oftentimes, like they see grown man doing grown man things and blow it out of proportion. This is not just a thing that they do with Stefon Diggs. They do it with literally every other athlete. So I think, look, again, I would prefer he didn't do any of this, but hey, man, he gets to live his life however he chooses,
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Two, it's June,
Yeah, that too.
What are we?
June 3rd right now.
Yeah, it's June 3rd. What the hell else are NFL people going to talk about right now? This is like the most dead period of NFL because we got the NBA finals going on, MLB season's going on. There's a whole lot of other stuff going on. So NFL people have to drum up something to talk about NFL-wise right now. And, turns out it's Stefon Diggs partying with his girlfriend on a boat, So it's like I don't think anybody really in the Patriots organization is tripping about it. So I'm not going to be tripping about it either.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think the biggest thing that people tripped about was less the partying with the women and more about the unknown substance, because that seemed to be where all the questions were,
that is another thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest concern, right? Because if the NFL gets involved, which we've seen them do, they can start to do things and it can spiral, and you just don't want that. You don't need that, right? It's an unnecessary thing. I think that's what Mike Vrabel's saying when, like, we need to make good choices on and off the field, right? Putting yourself in a situation of like that, is not a good thing. And even if it's pop rocks in a plastic bag, right? Like at the most, it's pink rock salt for margaritas or something like that, man.
It doesn't matter. Rocks. I think it was pop rocks.
Yeah, I'm going pop rocks.
Yeah,
I'm going pop rocks.
Pop rocks, man.
But I mean, there's no. It's like someone going through the airport and you have your vitamins in a plastic baggie instead of your Flintstone case, Like, there's no reason to get them in a plastic baggie, bro. Now they got to send them off. You're going to get detained. You're going to search everything. It's not worth it. It's not worth it, right? Just don't do it. And I think that's more what people are concerned about. But to your guys' point, it's a whole bunch of nothing. It's June, people. Games aren't won in June.
Yeah, and your wide receiver isn't, trying to beat allegations for, domestic abuse. So.
Yeah.
Could be worse.
It could always, ladies and gentlemen, it could always be so much worse.
This has been Between the Uprights. Football is life. The rest is just details.